Morning, Coach. I know you were asked about it post game, but just to clarify, we saw Jacoby Lane not play as many snaps as he usually does. What was the reason for that?
Yeah, I wouldn't add anything to what I said post game.
Ryan Carchi? Ryan Carchi?
Hey, Lincoln. Hope you're feeling better. Can you hear me?
Yeah, gotcha.
Right. Okay. Sorry. Uh, Lincoln, with college football just kind of changing so much the past few years, I wonder how you think that's maybe just, just affected rivalries, just kind of in general. Like, I know some traditional games have just been lost because of realignment and players changing teams just through the portal. But do you feel like rivalries like USC, UCLA, USC, Notre Dame, other ones are kind of different now given all that change?
We'll go with Antonio in the meantime.
Lincoln with early signing period getting pushed up 2 weeks and the portal coming right after that. Does this month feel busier than usual as you're kind of prepping for rivalry games and all that comes after it?
Yeah, it's a little different. I think the end of the year has always been a little bit hectic, especially once we added in the early signing period. But yeah, I think my gut is it's going to make the next few weeks a little bit crazier. Although the big difference here, this year looking ahead is that we're not on the road, and so. It is. It's these next couple weeks will be super busy, and then I would imagine December is probably not going to be quite as hectic as what it's been before, just because the high school signing period's earlier than and then we're actually on campus the entire time. We can't go out and recruiting, so yeah, it'll probably kind of push some of that up right now. And yeah, I think it's certainly more people's game prep is going to be I say affected, but I mean you're dealing with more with actual game prep. Like in the past, it was like, if you're playing in a conference championship game or something, maybe you really feel it within your game prep. Whereas now, like you got a lot going on for multiple games here at the end of the season. So something that everybody's dealing with. We're certainly trying to navigate it the best that we can.
Carchi, you want to try again?
I'll try, thanks. Hopefully it's good now. Sorry, Lincoln. I was just saying, with how much college football has changed, I just wonder if you think that's changed rivalries or maybe the lens through which players view rivalries or even the public.
A good question. I don't know that I have a great answer. Obviously, there's a lot of rivalries across college football that have been affected, or eliminated. So that's the extreme version. Man, you still feel the juice of a rivalry game. Like I still think there's still a lot of the good that's certainly, a part of it. I mean, some of the unique things now of having, you weren't used to, like in the past, like one year a player was on this team and the next year a player was on the other team of a rival. Like that just didn't happen much. So that's a little bit just new age that we all got to get used to. It's part of it. It's at least right now not going anywhere. Um, I think the bigger question going forward, which I know we've all talked about a bunch, is like as as this new playoff system emerges, I think we're going to learn a lot here. I mean, I don't think any of us probably can fully comprehend how different this playoff structure is going to be and then the repercussions that are going to come out of that, especially with how heavily slanted two conferences are in the country compared to the rest of them. There's going to be a lot of changes in my opinion, playoff structure. There's going to be a lot of changes in scheduling strategy. Um, there's a lot that's getting ready to happen after we go through a year or two of this new playoff system. And you hope that again, obviously the hope is that the rivalries can survive because they are a huge part of college football and college football history. But it's going to continue to get tested, I think, depending on how that all plays out. I still think there's a lot of a lot of juice behind the games, a lot of excitement behind the games for fan bases, for players. I mean, it's still something that I know means a lot to the schools that are involved in them.
Luca?
Hey Lincoln, after game Saturday, we asked Jaden, if he felt like he might have been kind of trying to do too much at times, and he said, yeah, that's just kind of him being him, and he seems at times like he's predisposed just to a certain level of risk taking. He gives his receivers kind of a chance to make plays. You've coached a lot of quarterbacks kind of in that same mold. With him, he's a young guy, he's raw. Is your goal to refine that? Is it a quality of his that you don't really want to rein in because it gives him so many positives in his game? What are your thoughts on kind of balancing and coaching his level of risk taking versus, trying to kind of refine and hone that?
Yeah, I would rather them be aggressive by nature, because if you're not going to make enough plays probably to win anyways. And so I like that, in his first start here that he went out and he was decisive and he was aggressive, and I think that's a great start. And I think, as long as you've got a guy that you feel like you can use the good word just to refine it, understanding where are the times where we can and want to be aggressive and having a guy that's not hesitant at all to go pull the trigger. And then, the hope is as time goes on, obviously that we can continue to just to eliminate the couple of decisions a game here where all of a sudden you're putting yourself in a bad position. And the great ones find a way to do that. But you got to be aggressive by nature because the quarterback's a position where you can like make the perfect decision and like do everything right, but like if you're hesitant just by like that much, it can still like not work out. And so I think being decisive and being aggressive and having a little bit of a fearless nature to you is like important. And I would rather start there and curb it the other way than try to push them to be more aggressive. So he's like I said, he did a good job in the first start. We're gonna coach him hard and push him to continue to improve, and he's given me every reason to believe that he will.
Shotgun?
Hey, Lincoln, how does velocity factor into your evaluation of quarterbacks? That's one of the things that stood out from Jaden the other day. Not just arm strength, but the velocity and what impact does added velocity have for a QB?
Yeah, I mean, it gets talked about a lot. I think when a lot of people think about it, the first thing they think about is just like how far that someone can throw the ball, which I mean, most of the time, I mean, other than a handful of throws a game, I don't know that that factors in for, nearly as much as maybe the outside world might think. But you're right. I think the velocity of, if I throw a 5 yard hitch route out there on the perimeter, and it gets to that receiver, a quarter of a second faster, like your opportunity to make somebody miss and get more yards after the catch. That's I think where it really shows up. Or potentially trying to fit the ball in a tighter window. So it matters. It's to me on the pecking order list. It's definitely not towards the top of the list. I think there's a lot of things that are way, way, way more important. But it's certainly a nice skill to have. We're certainly not against it. And then I think the big thing with guys that have velocity is you have to know how to use it, right? Like there's sometimes we don't need the 99-mile-an-hour fastball. Like we need something that's a little bit more catchable because throwing it harder is really not going to give us an advantage, and it's going to make it a tougher catch for the wideout. So it can be a great gift, but it's got to be used well, and it's a nice thing to have. It can help a lot on your yards after catch, but that's something that Jaden certainly does bring to us.
Jack?
Hey, Lincoln, on the other side of town, Deshaun Foster played in this rivalry a couple of times. You and most of the staff inherited it a couple years ago. Of things that you're willing to share, what approach have you taken to get the guys, revved up for the rivalry?
Oh, I mean, I mean, I think you look forward to these. Like, if you're lucky enough to be at a school, I mean, most schools have rivalries, but if you're lucky enough to be at a school and coach or play at a place that has, these intense rivalries, games this is a unique game. This is a unique rivalry game because of the proximity and the history behind it, and just you play it in two iconic venues. I mean, like this is a really, really cool game. And so we talked to the guys about having a 3-game season, right here at the end of this thing. We got the first one done and we knew we had our two rivals here right here at the end. And the opportunities that's provided in the context of the season. And then also certainly have talked about the context historically, and what this means. And so, no, it's a game we take a lot of pride in. A game we're very, very excited to play, excited to prepare for. And you got to be, because these games are, I don't know why you play college football if you can't get revved up to play in these.
Jude.
Hey Lincoln, I hope you're feeling a little bit better after your flu. I think kind of continuing on the conversation of the rivalries, how do you think almost the transfer portal and NIL? I know you talked to just more about the college football landscape of changing, or the college football playoff landscape of changing things, but how do you feel just with transfers coming in, not really being adequate with kind of what that USC UCLA rivalry is coming from maybe the South or the East Coast?
Yeah, I mean, I think two things. I think it's our job to educate and acclimate them to the rivalry. And then I think, the good thing is, some of these guys come from schools where they've been a part of rivalry games, even though it's maybe not, this exact one. And so they can draw back on some of those experiences. But I think that's a challenge for us all. We've talked a lot about it in terms of, well, I got to get the team chemistry, or the team really kind of brought together in terms of all the new players coming and all that. To me, like, this is a part of that, right? Like, if somebody comes in new, we got to make sure they understand, this rivalry, what it means, how significant that it is, and the challenge that it always is to win these games. And so I think that's on us as a staff, and we've tried to, I think our guys. I'm confident our team has a really good feel for what this game is, what it means, and the way that we're going to need to play on Saturday night.
There's time for one more, guys. We're going to wrap it up with Brian Karchi.
Hey, like it seems like Elijah Page has taken a few steps forward over these recent weeks. I wonder what you thought of his progress, and also just what you thought of Josh Henson and how he's handled kind of stabilizing that group over the course of this season.
Yeah, I think Elijah's done a really good job. I think he's really improved. I like I told you, I felt like he would after, some of the tough games there early in the season. I mean, I think he's learned from it. He's grown. He's getting more confident. I think and he's just a young guy that's, had some lumps early on, and this is what happens. It's like you take some of those, you keep battling, you get better, and all of a sudden you look up and guys playing at a pretty darn good level. So he's been pretty good for us here the last several weeks on a really good track. Confidence is growing. Yeah, and I think Josh has been a big part of that. In terms of having several young/new guys on that group. I think Josh has done a really good job. I was really proud of the way, we played last week. That was, one of the best tests that we've seen in terms of a front, being able to play the way we did, especially run the ball, against a group that's been, so strong there. Like we're starting to stack up some pretty good performances there, which has been really key. So, no, I think the group's progressed, and feel like we're kind of teed up here to play our best at the end, and that's certainly what we're going to need.